is going on anyway? I'm ready to find out. Hello, I'm Anne Headley, and this is my podcast, What is Going On Anyway, where I wonder over this moment now, and I reach for meaning. I watch the new and full moon's cycle, and I offer intuitive guidance around paying attention to life as it arises. Okay, the biggest news is this eclipse. It's particularly big in Maine right now because the skies are perfectly clear. It's a 60-degree day, or it's going to be a 60-degree day in April, which is unusual for us. It's like a perfect day. And everyone I know is trying to decide whether they travel to the path of totality or they stay put. So where I live, we're at 97% totality. And everything I've understood about this is that it's nothing compared to totality. And it would take us, without any traffic, it would take us 2.5 to 3 hours to travel to the path of totality. But the possibility is that we would get stuck in traffic, either going or coming. It's full-on mud season up in the mountains in Maine, and it could be a muddy mess, but it could also be the most magnificent celestial experience of anyone's life. So what do I choose? I've had to really go with my gut on this one. I have an incredible FOMO, fear of missing out, that I'm not giving myself the opportunity of a lifetime. But my deepest instinct has said, stay home. Enjoy whatever you can find. Find the beauty in your own backyard and look inside for the feelings that you're seeking out there. So I'm sticking with it. But there's still time right now, and I could still drive to the eclipse. And so I'm feeling that tension of what is it to really listen to my inner guidance when I've got a lot of pressure on the outside. My instinct has been from the very beginning of considering this eclipse to reduce possible chaos for myself, to stay grounded, to go slow. And this is really hard in the face of feeling that I'm missing out on something. This sort of theme has come up for me a lot recently. How do I choose my own sense of groundedness in the choices that I make, even if it might create discontent in other people and a feeling of anxiety in myself as I do what is right for me. I do as I am guided to do. It's new patterning for me, and it is all new territory and very uncomfortable. So my question around this eclipse is, what is it to choose peace? And this peace originates inside. So for each one of us, it will be different. What is it to actively imagine something and turn towards the ease and the harmony and the peace of that answer, internal answer, no matter how tempting the allure of chaos might be? And I am not in any way saying that there's a choice, there's a good choice or a bad choice to make around the eclipse. Noah, my oldest, was offered a flight to the path of totality, and he's going, and it is absolutely the right decision in his being. And I feel so excited that he will have the opportunity to see it with ease. He'll be flying right over the traffic. I've been pondering the same concept of what is this new earth that is spoken about? What is this potential of a new time? The age of Aquarius, a new way of being on earth. How do we actually solve for peace and harmony when our tactics, our training, our education are often based in violent, authoritarian principles? This seems so important to me right now. how do we think differently to come up with different solutions? I recently had an animal communication with a cat that absolutely couldn't fathom. He didn't have a place inside of him that understood inequality among fellow beings. I never quite came across a being like this. It wasn't that he was dumb. He just knew that all beings were equal with every cell of his being. He didn't believe in hierarchical structure, and he simply couldn't place a false structure of authoritarian rule over what he knew to be universal law, which is all beings are equally valued in the face of nature, in the face of God. There was a behavior issue that I was talking to this cat around, and the explanation was so different than what I expected. It was, he wanted to play, and his, I'm using air quotes, owner couldn't understand that method of play and wanted to exert an authoritarian atmosphere in order to stop that form of play. And this cat just was baffled by this. Just imagine if you could be that cat for a moment, and if somehow you could heal the wounds that make you believe in all of the less thans, all of the ways that you are ashamed and feeling shameful, all the ways that you are guilty for being here. It's this bullshit, really, isn't it, when you think about it, that so many of us are swallowed by this, just from growing up in a Western, Eurocentric, anthropocentric, which means human-centered, that the human is the most important part of civilization. So my new world takes the words, all humans are created equal, seriously. All beings are equal and valued in nature. That's a serious proposition that we haven't been taking seriously, even right down to how we manage the ants that show up. This is the time of year in Maine where, as the ground thaws, the ants make their bid for living inside of my kitchen again. And every year I have this mini battle where I don't want the ants in my kitchen. And so I sprinkle borax around the house. There's all these things that I do because in this case, I'm more important than the ants. And I think I'll probably continue to do that, but I can also at the same time honor and respect the ants and their way of being. Many people hold this eclipse time sacred. There are many people who, rather than experiencing it, witnessing it with their own two eyes and eclipse glasses, filters, many people believe that this is a sacred time for meditation, for prayer, for their sacred spiritual practices. So everybody has a different way of experiencing this very particular and interesting new moon. Some people fast during the eclipse. Some people stay inside entirely. Mahayana Buddhism considers the eclipse time that the merits generated by your spiritual practice are multiplied by 100 million. I don't know if this is true. I just heard it on Instagram. But I liked that idea of what does this special time mean and what can we do with it? This has the potential to be an incredible symbolism of rebirth for all of us. This moment where this most essential star, the sun for us, is eclipsed by a relatively tiny celestial body, the moon. And that shadow has the potential to feel terrifying because we notice how much we need the sun. The darkness all around, the temperature drops, and then the sun comes back. It's sort of this huge wave experimentation of rebirth and appreciation for this planet that we're on. And so the potential after something like that is for incredible joy, happiness, and a sense of peace. What else is important but being here and appreciating the sun and the particular season that we're in, especially here in the Northern Hemisphere, we're just right in the middle of spring and this potential for rebirth, growth, sprouting, new things. And for me, I'm putting myself into this magical mind state that what I wish for will come true. That maybe I can start living my life inside out. I've been talking about that feeling of inside outness for a long time. Maybe now I can take that sense of who I am deep inside of me and allow that to engage with the world, where most of the time I let this mask of a person engage with the world, the politeness, the scared Anne who does what she thinks is the right thing to do, not the artist Anne who is engaged in a playful exploration of the world around her. What happens if I do this? What happens if this color is here or this plant grows over here? What happens if I cover my windows with blue? You know, all of these interesting possibilities, rather than if I did that, what would people think? I better vacuum my floor before my friend comes over. What will she think if she thinks that I haven't vacuumed my floor in a month? I think it's been a month. Oh my God. Now I want to go vacuum my floor. You see, it's all mixed up. I have these resolutions, and it's like I'm just a body of water. I just have my tides and my currents, and I'll get pulled this way and that. And if I can enjoy that and relax and go with the flow of the tide inside of me and not get stressed out about it, I really have a lot of fun. And that's what I wish for you as well. I have a little excerpt that I want to read. I've been interested in pulling little bits here and there. This is John Cage, and the book that I have is called Letters and Writings by John Cage, and the title is Silence. So this little excerpt that I pulled out comes from a piece called 45 Minutes for a Speaker. Of 5 aspects, observe 2. The highest purpose is to have no purpose at all. That puts one in accord with nature in her manner of operation. If someone comes along and asks why, there are answers. However, there is a story I have found very helpful. What's so interesting about technique anyway? What if there are 12 tones in a row? What row? This seeing of cause and effect is not emphasized, but instead one makes an identification with what is here and now. He then spoke of 2 qualities, unimpededness and interpenetration. The relationship of things happening at the same time is spontaneous and irrepressible. It is you yourself in the form you have that instant taken. To stop and figure it out takes time. There's nothing to figure out here. I just appreciated that, and I always loved John Cage's work because at the heart of it, it felt irreverent and joyful and funny and deeply spiritual. And also he loves the I Ching like me. And one last little thing before I get to our I Ching reading for this new moon. A while back, I talked through the chakras. It's another thing that I love to do. I love to think about the chakras in relationship to my own spiritual growth. And at the 3rd chakra, some folks might correlate this to the 3rd dimension of living. that place is at the center of our belly. We have come from the base root survival skills to relationships, creativity, rolling around and figuring things out, to a place up in our belly, in our solar plexus, where we have a knowing, we have a point of knowledge, just a point. And that mastery of survival and relationship, this place where we express that some people, I think, can consider that the third dimension of living. It has to do with the way we experience daily life on Earth. The actual mastery of this place in us, the solar plexus, is when we can, with ease and comfort and joy and peace, express generosity. So true generosity is a place of mastery of the third dimension of living. And I'm talking about this sparked something in me because I love to listen to everything. And there are a lot of spiritual folks out there who talk about how we need to just jump to the fifth dimension. Everything would be all right if we just got to the fifth dimension. And I wanted a way for myself to understand this. How can I understand this based in a system that I am doing my thought pondering around? And it quite beautifully gives me an understanding of what that might be. Of course, I have no idea what it is to be in the third, fourth, fifth, sixth dimension. Well, I guess I know what it's like to be in the third dimension, but this fourth, fifth, sixth dimension stuff, I'm just sort of like listening and looking. I don't have a lot of input. When I placed it over the chakra system that I enjoy, it started to make a little more sense to me. So I'm sharing it with you just to see, what do you think? How does this sound? How does this resonate for you? So generosity at that third chakra, in the third dimension, in a place where we understand, it's not always easy for us to be generous because we're concerned about maintaining our bottom line of survival. But generosity at that place, when you have found the gift that you have in life, where you can be generous and it takes nothing away from you, that is the mastery of the third dimension as far as I'm concerned. So after the third dimension would come the fourth dimension, and this would be the heart chakra. And here we no longer need to share direct space with another person in order to love them. We can extend compassion and love to people even outside of our family and friends circles. We spread, because we experience the joy of generosity, we can spread that sense of empathy and compassion wider than our known worlds, wider than the arena of, if I help this person, it will keep me safe, or if I do this, that's a transactional relationship, So the fourth dimension is opening our compassion because of our generosity, our free, open, it's sort of like water flowing. There's nothing else but to be generous at that point with our gifts. In this fifth chakra, maybe we can consider that the fifth dimension, which many spiritualists are desperate to achieve, sometimes as an escape, right? That's sort of a way of spiritually bypassing the work of knowing our point of mastery, our point of giftedness, our point of generosity. So third chakra is solar plexus. Fourth chakra, fourth dimension, is heart and heart-centered living. And it's not a push to heart-centered living. It is simply the feeling that comes through you when you're expressing your gift. I think it all flows very naturally. And so if we do it backwards and we think we have to be generous in our hearts without having that deep feeling of appreciating our own special, unique gifts, I think it feels empty. So at the fifth chakra, we're up in the throat now. And here, self-expression in its relaxed, open state is so natural. And the exaltation here is that you're able to speak truth. And not that you're able to speak truth so much as you are unable to make a sound. You're unable to speak without it being truthful, like that cat that I was talking about. Truth is just how it operates in an open, working fifth chakra. And maybe that's what it's like in the fifth dimension. So you can't just skip over things and get there. You actually have to move through I don't want to use that word mastery. You have to move through the deep groundedness of finding your way into this and through this life. Curiously, because in the fourth chakra, gosh, this is a lot to kind of dive into. Just hang in here with me. In the fourth chakra, that would be the place where we've got all of the enlightened saints. So Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, Muhammad, all of these figures are of love, of compassion, of generosity. What comes after that? And so in the fourth chakra or the fourth dimension, you would be witnessed by full compassionate love. You would be, in quotation marks, saved by love. So you are understood. You are witnessed. You are defended. You no longer need to speak in riddles for other people's acceptance. And that's why truth is the name of the game as you ascend into the fifth chakra or the fifth dimension. You are who you are. And that's exactly right with God, with nature, with the order of things. So why am I bringing all of this up? Well, one, just because I like to have the clarity of talking through it in my own mind. But two, because I think there's something about this eclipse and this new moon that is asking us not to be exalted and truth-telling and not to be Christed in our heart, but that it is time to attend to our very specific giftedness and share that generously with the world. That's what I think. It doesn't have to be any big thing. It is something that is the seed of your unique beingness. That's what I think. And I find this a real puzzle that I am wrapping my mind around. And that's, I think, why I talk about all of these things. Write out your dreams. What is it about you that is so unique to the world? That's something for me to discover for myself. It's something for you to discover for yourself. And I spent so much of my life thinking someone else was going to discover that for me. Not just thinking that, I was convinced that someone would discover my talents. Meanwhile, how could they? How could they? I'm the only one that knows what it's like to be in here. So I'm the only one that can discover it, validate and honor it, and then generously share that with the world. I think that's what this new moon time is the beginning of, sharing some of our giftedness with the world and letting some of this old, crusty structure, this hierarchical structure of only the bestest people can share their gifts, or only the people who are approved by the academy can share their gifts. And I'm using that widely, broadly, that word, the academy, but only the council approves of the things that can be shared. That stuff, I just see that shattering and breaking away, almost as if the eclipse has a magical power to do that for us. So let's see what the I Ching has to say. Now, I asked the question, what is going on with this new moon? I didn't ask the question, what's the best advice for us in this new moon period? And I know it matters, the question that you ask. So I'm just telling you, that's the question I asked. And the hexagram that we got is 10, which is conduct, treading, mating with the tiger. It says, this can be a brilliant and inspiring time. It can also be a time of danger. Everything depends upon the way you conduct yourself. The best possibility for progress and success comes through your sense of dignity and composure. Disorder and chaos cannot touch you if you behave with propriety and good manners. The question to ask is, where is the tiger? And I'll explain. This hexagram has to do with treading in the tracks of a tiger. Treading describes your situation in terms of how you find and make your way. The way to deal with it is to proceed step by step. The path is there. Practice. Think about the right way to act and how to gain your livelihood. You are walking in the tracks of a tiger, a powerful and dangerous being. If you are careful, this being will give you what you need to exist and frighten off what is trying to harm you. Speak with it and partake of its power and intelligence. Don't do anything to make it bite you. You can't afford to sneer and scold. This is pleasing to the spirits. Through it, they will give you success, effective power, and the capacity to bring the situation to maturity. There are tigers in the outer world, and also inner tigers. As you get close, it's good to recognize the tiger for what it is. Look to the power and intensity you are drawn to in the situation. Its specific danger is there, and also its potential gift. The changing lines offer us sort of a warning. It says you can now undertake even dangerous endeavors if you proceed with great caution, okay? And the fifth line, what you propose to do is dangerous, yet your awareness of such danger will give you the strength to succeed. The time requires a firm commitment to your endeavor. If you do not have a real commitment in your heart, you should re-examine your path. And I think that points to that pathway through the chakras. Of course, the I Ching is not saying this, I'm saying this. But finding our way in the world requires that we learn how to be safe and secure. It requires that we learn how to connect with our creativity and connect and communicate with other people and find livelihood, find a way of supporting ourselves, whatever that may be. And once we find that our gifts have soil to grow in. And when we can recognize and see what they are, we can offer that out to the world with generosity. That creates a feeling of love. It creates a feeling of wanting to be here, of acceptance, of embrace. The world embraces us and we embrace the world. That's fourth chakra. And from there's nothing to speak but truth. We just talk about our experience, being deeply grounded in this life. And if you don't have a commitment in your heart, you don't have to try for that. That is just what it is. It's just what you know. So if you don't have that commitment in your heart, it is true that you must re-examine your path. Sometimes we have to go all the way back to the beginning. Why don't I feel safe here? You know, that's what I've been working through in therapy. Where are my specific wounding patterns that are keeping me not feeling safe when I have supporting evidence that I am safe? So I need to kind of start over from the beginning. And it's not hard to stack those blocks. It's not impossible. It's worth it. This hexagram moves to 41, decreasing. We have had this one before. The key questions to ask are, why do you want to make such an offering? And I'm suggesting that we want to make such an offering because there's nothing else to do, because it's the most obvious thing in the world. How much is truly asked of you? Usually less than we think. And could this be simpler? That one's probably for me. I often often need to ask, could it be simpler? Could it be simpler? So as we move into our generosity phase, into our creative generosity phase, all of us with this new eclipse, could it be even simpler is the right question to ask over and over again. This simplifying can be thought of as a decluttering if you want, because that's a nice thing to think of for spring. But if things are not aligning with your knowingness inside of you, of who you are and what gifts you have to offer, then that's a good time to simplify, decrease, let go of some things that aren't in alignment with that. There are a lot of times we have to carry things along with us on our journey that later on we realize we don't need. So just think about the Appalachian Trail for a second. You know, it's well known that the first 20 miles of the Appalachian Trail are littered with wonderful gear that people have decided they don't need for this journey that they're on, that they couldn't have known that before. So right now is also a time of letting go of some of the things, ideas, projects, ways of being, sometimes relationships that aren't part of your expression of life right now. It's okay to let them go. Maybe you go back and get them. I don't know. I don't want you to worry about it, but it's okay to let it go. You know I'm talking to myself. It's okay, Annie Boo. You can clean your basement. Next time we will find out if I have done that task or not. I don't know. That's a big one. And that's it, folks. That is our new moon eclipse in Aries, conjunct Chiron, the wounded healer. May you be well. May all of your wounds be healed miraculously, magically, wonderfully. And may you have a good 2 weeks until I see you next with the full moon. As always, you can find out more about me at my website, www.annheadley.com. Thank you so much for your continued support, for your listening. I always love to hear from you, so feel free to reach out. Until next time, may you be well, and may you know peace. May all beings be well. May all beings